This next one's going to be a stretch to target our hip flexors. Obviously those can get chronically tight when you're doing a lot of running or biking, so this is a real important one. The big key with this is we're going to be moving in the 3 planes that we talked about, kind of driving forward here. But it's really important that this down leg, we're focusing on squeezing that glute. So when I push forward, I want to have a straight line from my knee up through my shoulder right there. A lot of times you'll get this motion going on. That's not what we want. We're going to squeeze this guy, keep our abs tight. We're going to drive it forward. I'll come 45 degrees, drive it out to the side. Last one, I'll come 90 right here, get my adductors a little bit. Normally I go about 5 to 10 repetitions in each side. This one's just going to be a little bit of a twist on a traditional calf stretch, incorporating some of that triplanar movement. Find a wall or something, a super friend, something sturdy nearby. I'm going to keep that back foot straight, heel planted towards the ground, and I'm just going to do some stepping kind of to the outside right here, making sure that heel doesn't come up and that foot doesn't turn out. Straight ahead, out to the side here. Go about 10 times to each spot, then switch sides. Here's a quick IT band stretch that you don't need any equipment for, you can really do anywhere. I'm just going to start standing, I'm going to cross it over with one leg. As I do that, I'm going to keep my weight on this left leg here, bump my hips out to the side, give it a big reach, back up over the top. I'm thinking about if I had a wall right in front of me and right behind me, I want to stay in between those walls. So I'm bending straight to the side, I'm not collapsing forward, getting a good stretch down the outside of that leg. One we got for you right here, good one to do before you're running, kind of the last thing to get you prepped. I call this a Spider-Man walk with rotation, so it's good because it's going to hit a lot of different areas in one pretty simple movement. So I'm going to kind of get down here and do almost a push-up position. From there, we're going to walk that foot up to the outside. I'm going to try to take my elbow down towards my instep. From there, I'm going to take it back, extend. Palm's going to come flat. I'm going to rotate up as far as I can. Bring that hand back down. I'm going to keep my hips low to the ground, chest square, crawl it forward like I'm Spider-Man coming up the building. Elbow to instep, get it back, foot down, rotate up. Like I'm going to show you crossover lunges. This is a good strength training exercise you can use to get outside of the sagittal plane and train a little bit in the frontal plane. It's very similar to just doing a curtsy. You can load it up with dumbbells or medicine ball like I'm using for example here. I'm just going to step behind and reach, really focusing on loading into my glute, making sure that my knee doesn't travel forward too much over my toe. You can mix it up by doing reaches with it. You can come overhead. Lots of different ways to progress it, but a good one. Posterior reaches. This is a strength exercise that's going to target our posterior chain, loading into our hamstring and our glutes while working on some single leg stability. I'm going to start on one leg. From there, I'm just going to reach back, keeping my weight on that front foot. Come forward, I'm shifting my hips back, going in 3 different directions, so I'm hitting all 3 planes. From the side, you can see it a little better. The big key is to make sure that we're shifting our weight. You can also incorporate some reaches with it, but I'm loading through my hamstrings and my glutes, making sure that knee's not traveling too much, keeping a nice flat back. I'm going to show you a lunge matrix here. Pretty much the same as a standard lunge that you've seen before, but this time we're going to incorporate some of the movements in the frontal and the transverse planes, kind of getting you outside of that normal just sagittal plane. So we're just going to start. I'm going to lunge forward, take it back to the middle, and the next one's going to be out to the side, shift my weight back, then I'm going to come back here, open up. You can change this by loading it with dumbbells, all sorts of things. You can incorporate reaches just like we showed before. I can come forward with it. I can come up overhead. I can drive it in a bunch of different directions. So keeping with our theme today, we're going to take a traditional strength training exercise like a plank, and we're going to incorporate some movements in all 3 planes. So I'm going to start in a push-up position right here. I'm going to make sure that my abdominals are engaged, my butt is tight, and my back's flat. I'm going to drive forward, push back. Normally I like to go between 10 and 15 repetitions on each leg. Driving right there, making sure that I'm keeping my abs engaged, my butt tight, and I'm not excessively rounding through my lower back. From there I'm going to move to the frontal plane. I'm going to assume the same position. I'm going to reach out to the side and touch. With these, I'm making sure that I'm kind of keeping my hips stacked, my body's parallel to the ground, and I'm not transferring too much weight when I do those touches. The last one is going to be the transverse plane. I'm just going to be rotating. I'm going to take my outside knee, drive it to my elbow, reach back up and across my body kind of like a scorpion. So I'm going to come right here, I'll drive through, up and over. This next one is going to be a single leg glute bridge. This is a really important exercise because it's going to work on some glute activation and just some general strength through the hip that's going to help with that knee down the chain as we're running. So I'm going to set up right here. I'm going to get my front knee bent to about 90 degrees right there. I'm going to keep my toes up so I'm driving through my heel. I'll flex this one opposite towards my chest, and then from there I'm just going to drive up. Now, critical when we're doing this, I want you to think abs engaged, and we're making sure that we're not going to extend too much through our lower back. You shouldn't feel your lower back cramping up when you're doing this. You should feel that glute really kicking on and firing. A good way to progress this one, I like to do holds, or you can also elevate that foot up on a box to increase your range of motion. So another exercise for you here that's going to target our posterior chain, those glutes and those hammies. You're going to need a physio ball for this exercise. We'll come here on our back, feet up on the ball, and the first progression to this is going to be just bridging. So I'm going to keep my abs tight, I'm going to tuck my butt, keep it pinched, and I'm just going to bridge up to there. I like to pause this one at the top, focusing on that contraction. From there, a good progression would be to go ahead and take your bridge, and then flex those knees, pull your heels towards your butt, squeezing through those hamstrings, making sure the entire time that I'm keeping a nice straight line from my knee, my hip, my shoulder, abs tight, lower back's not extending too much.